Yair Rodriguez is out against Zabit Magomed Sharipov. I've read the UFC's got a replacement, but they just don't know who.
Oh man, that was that was the most awful news from last week. If it comes to fight announcements or whatever, I'm huge on Zabit. I like Jair. That was a fun fight. Yeah, I wonder who they're gonna put in there. I can't imagine that somebody in the top 15 is like, yeah, give me that fight. No way.
No way.
I see probably they probably put a contender series guy against him. That's what I think. Or I don't know, man. John Lineker has put his name in the hat. They didn't want that.
Yeah, you don't think they could really do that, do you?
With John Lineker? Nah, I didn't think so, man. I think John Lineker is already a small bantamweight, and Zabit is a pretty long featherweight. So
he looks like a welterweight.
Yeah, exactly. So that wouldn't too much make sense, I think. But I'm happy that still the UFC had that thing like Zabit versus to be determined. So he's on the card. Please stay on the card, man.
Yeah, no. If I don't get to see Zabit fight at 228, I'm gonna be pretty upset.
I understand, man. I saw his debut in Rotterdam.
Oh yeah, where he literally his first strike he pretty much threw in the UFC was the Showtime kick, and I remember watching it too, and I was just like, "What is this guy doing?"
Amazing, man.
Moving on to Russia, Desmond Green and Taisumov. That fight's got to be off, right?
Well, I've read about Desmond Green. I know about the two people who died by the crash, but he also, yeah, absolutely, and he also got like the police smelled like pot in his car like 2 weeks or 3 weeks earlier. He drove without a license as well, is what I've read on Junkie.
Yep.
So I don't see him getting a visa for going to Russia, honestly. So I think that fight is off. I'm pretty sure it will be off, but officially it's not yet. But it's just a terrible situation. Also for Desmond, but definitely for people who are involved in that. Yeah, what can you say about it? You know?
Yeah, definitely. I do want to say that my thoughts are definitely out with those that were injured and obviously ultimately lost their lives in that accident. But talking about that fight. In particular, Taisumov just can't get a break, man.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't know what's up with that. He has had visa issues for going to fight in the US. He fought in the US before for Fight Nights Global, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. And for weird reasons. I don't know what's up. I don't know the rules and whatever, but just sucks, man. His fight against Dunham was called off because of the visa issues, and now against Green might be called off again. So, yeah, and he's definitely a guy we should be in the top 15. We could be easily in the top 15, in my opinion.
Yeah, but a guy earlier, like we were talking about in James Vick, he went 9-1 in the UFC before he even had his own first main event at lightweight. Lightweight is those are some shark-infested waters. Yeah. So I mean, I'm pretty sure Taisumov is 6-1, and all six of those fights, if they didn't come by first round knockout, they came by early knockout for sure. That's a guy that could easily be knocking on the door of the top 15. And then the next fight that was made and announced for this week, Ramazan Emeev against Claudio Silva. That's a really interesting matchup. Claudio Silva is a guy that obviously is coming off a huge upset over Nordine Taleb, but a guy like Emeev, I mean, well, after I saw him, completely outclass Sam Alvey at 185, who's now obviously at 205, and when I heard that he was dropping to 170, I was just like, geez, man.
Yeah, Ramazan Emeev is he's a strong guy, man. He's former global champion.
Yep. Middleweight, right?
Yeah, he's very tough. Also, he fought against Anatoly Tokov, I think. That's Fedor's guy. And M1. He's a good fighter, man. I think Alberto Mina was his last fight in the UFC.
He dominated him.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was also undefeated, Alberto Mina, Brazilian. Claudio Silva did very well in his comeback after a few years against Nordin Taleb. So this is a very intriguing matchup, man. Looking forward to it. It's tough because Claudio Silva is very good as well. This fight will be on the preliminary card. I think that could easily be on the main card because it's a very good matchup. So, what do you think? What do you think?
Speaking of that main card, I also think it's a good matchup. But I think they did the main card. I think they did the main card just right. With it being Hunt and Oleinik, and then obviously I think Krylov Blachowicz is a great co-main. Arlovsky Abdurahimov, and then Kunchenko Alves, I think, is what got that main card. Yeah, not a whole lot of complaints from me, especially with I would have had Petr Yan and Andrade on the main card if that fight were still happening, but obviously, guys seem to when they need to fight Petr Yan, man. I know that's a guy you're really high on.
Yeah, true. But what do you think about the UFC putting their Fight Pass card and their Russian debut? Could have at least put a fight night televised card over there with 6 main card fights, a little bit more exposure for that. I think they kind of missed the boat on that. They have some pretty good matchups on that, but they could have done much more for the first time in Russia.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that. I would say that I'm not too against the idea of putting it on Fight Pass just because of, when I'm not per se the casuals, but per se like when a lot of people were to look at the fight card kind of at first glance, there aren't going to be a whole lot of names that are so easy to recognize for people that are not like you and I. However, I think that there's definitely some merit to what you're saying. And definitely because I could have actually enjoyed a six fight main card on FS1. Problem is though, when you look at what they're programming, that is on a college football Saturday, and in America, there's going to be college football on at noon all day, and I believe that main card doesn't start until 2 o'clock. So I can kind of understand it.
Yeah, I feel you are there. Okay, yeah. Yeah, for me, it's not. I'm not in America, so I don't know.
Yeah. No, totally. I think from a programming standpoint, I think that's kind of the route that they chose to go. Maybe that half kind of mixed with the fact that they're really trying to saturate that market, and they're trying to do it incredibly slowly. I'm not sure how slow they should do it, but it seems like they're taking their time.
Yeah.
Moving on to UFC Fight Night 137 the week after. Neil Magny's out. I was looking forward to his matchup against Cowboy Oliveira, but I really like the matchup he has now with Carlo Pedersoli Jr.
Me too. I didn't know, but Carlo Pedersoli Jr. is the nephew of Bud Spencer.
Is he really?
Yeah, man.
What?
Yeah, Bud Spencer also, his real name is Carlo Pedersoli. So
I didn't even realize that.
I was looking when he fought Bradley Scott. I was putting that fight announcement out, and I saw his name. I had Carlo Pedersoli typed in on Google, and I got all Bud Spencer pictures. I was like, "What the?
What is this? Wow,
yeah.
No way. That's crazy stuff."
Yeah, exactly.
Another fight that was made official. This lineup should be coming out pretty soon. Randa Marcos is taking on Marina Rodriguez. That's a really tough fight for Randa Marcos. Marina Rodriguez is now, spoiler alert, but Marina Rodriguez obviously had to have had been victorious in the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series Brazil, or else there would be no reason for her to be in this fight whatsoever. Yes. Just another MMA kind of promotional practice on tape delay, huh?
Yeah, I don't like that, but I think you don't also.
No, I mean, what's there to not like about tape delay, right? Come on.
I don't get it. I also put a tweet out like the Triders got a contract. They're like, yes, I got a contract, but I can't say anything because I have to wait for 3 weeks before it airs.
But he just said it though.
No.
That yeah, no, the Bellator thing too. Like when they're in Europe and they don't even show it live in Europe.
Yeah, I know, man. But I'm happy there are some Italian side who always puts out the outcomes, so I don't have to wait till 4 in the morning before in the US it will televise. You know.
Yeah, I actually watched the one when they were in Rome. I found a stream for watching Spike TV Rome live, and they didn't even have it live. They were still like 3 hours behind.
Yeah, unbelievable. I don't know. I never get that. But
I don't understand it at all either. UFC 229, obviously the big one of the week was Tony Ferguson and Anthony Pettis. Gray Maynard and Nick Lentz was also added up. Give me just your kind of quick thoughts on Ferguson Pettis.
Fun matchup. Pettis is good stand-up, good on the ground, same as Tony. I think Tony has the edge on the ground. Anthony might have the edge on clean fighting on stand-up, but Tony has some weird angles, man. That's the thing with Tony, and Tony uses him very well. If I had to give a pick on that fight, I go with Tony Ferguson. I think he's more in his prime than Anthony Pettis is, although Pettis is doing well recently, I think. So yeah, I would go for Ferguson in that one, but I think that's the obvious choice.
I would have to agree with you. And then moving on to Moncton, Canada, Stevie Ray and Justin Iari is a pretty interesting matchup.
Yeah, and kind of unexpected for being in Moncton. Or Stevie Ray still with TriStar?
Is he? I'm not too sure.
For sure. I'm also not too sure. Yeah, kind of a weird matchup to me for two Europeans in Canada. But yeah, fun matchup. Yasin Ayari also saw his debut live in Hamburg against Jimmy Wallhead. Split decision, if I'm correct. Then for Darren Till.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then was he had a pretty long layoff, I think a year plus or something. Is that correct? Or did he fight this year?
I think it might even be a little bit longer than a year.
Yeah, it was in Stockholm last year, if I remember well. Stevie Ray comes off that Cajun Johnson loss where I thought he won, actually.
I thought he won.
Yeah. So that's an intriguing matchup, man. What do you think about it?
I like the matchup. I think again, like Stevie Ray, a guy that I also believe won his fight against Cajun Johnson. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Iari coming off, I think kind of a lengthy layoff. And yeah, why the fights in Canada? It would obviously make a whole ton of sense if Stevie Ray was still up in TriStar. So interesting matchup.
Oh yeah, not to forget, Iari is dropping down to lightweight for this.
Yeah, yep, dropping down from 170. Yeah. UFC 230 new fight for the week: Carl Roberson and Jack Marshman. I think Carl Roberson is another guy that we might have forgotten to mention earlier as a stud headed forward at middleweight. Jack Marshman, the Welshman, getting his chance to perform in the world's most famous arena.
Yeah, Carl Roberson, yeah, very good fighter. Came from Glory Kickboxing, then go to Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series, knocked out Ryan Spann, I think, in 15 seconds, and had a great debut against Darren Stewart on short notice, if I remember correct. He's a tough guy, man, and Jack Marshman didn't have to impress me so far to this day, so he's tough, definitely, but I give the edge to Carl Roberson.
Yeah, me as well. UFC Fight Night 139 in Denver. We get to find out who will have been the true winner of this past season of Tough all along, and Mike Trezano and Luis Pena, and also Alonzo Menafield will be taking on Saparbek Safarov. Your thoughts?
I'm pretty huge on Mike Trezano. I follow him since his Ring of Combat journey. Also, he fought in Bellator before he went to the UFC. Had a great Anaconda or Dark Stroke submission win. He was my pick to win the Ultimate Fighter, so that went well for my pick. Luis Pena, yeah, he's impressive. You can't say anything else. He's great submission against Richie Small in the Tough finale prelims. Yeah, what can you say? It's a tough matchup to call. I think the most people will go with Luis Pena because of the show he gave, and that Trizano fight against Giannetti wasn't that great.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. But Trizano didn't maybe show his full potential yet in the UFC. So it's an intriguing fight, I think, and I look forward to see that. I'm not going to give a pick right now because I'm still not sure what I'm going to do, but I'm leaning more towards Trizano because I think he has more ways to win. But I can see people picking Pena on the way he went through that whole tough thing, and the recent fight against Richie Smallin. Alonzo Manifield against Sapobek Safarov is a great fight for Manifield. Safarov hasn't impressed me too much so far. One of the few Russians that hasn't impressed me so much in the UFC. Manifield, he's solid, man. Fortis MMA guy, just like Charles Burke, Jeff Neal. He's solid, and I see him getting his first UFC win, staying undefeated.
Yeah, me as well. Really interesting fight headed to Buenos Aires. Tom Breeze and Cesar Muhachi Ferreira. You gotta ask, how the hell did Tom Breeze ever make welterweight?
I have no idea, man. I have no idea.
He's huge.
He's huge. He's definitely huge.
It doesn't make any sense. I look at that guy and I'm just like, oh my God, you made 170?
Yeah.
What? No, that makes no sense to me. But yeah, no, that's a great fight with him and Mutachi. I got to give the edge to Breeze. That's another guy again at middleweight that could be on his way into those rankings.
Yes, I agree. But I'm going against you in this one. I'm going with Mutachi.
Cool. Yeah, he went big time against Roberson and really made a statement. Obviously, as we discussed before we started the broadcast, Rashad Coulter, Hu Yaozong, Wu Yanan, and Shayna Dobson, and obviously the big one, Curtis Blades and Francis Ngannou's rematch has all been made official for UFC Fight Night 141 in Beijing.
Yes.
There any reasons for you to lean towards Ngannou to make it 2-0 against Blades?
No, not at all. It's actually funny because I had an encounter with Gabriel Carvalho of MMA Brazil. I talked to him and he was like, when we were like 1.5 years back, I was like, yeah, I see Ngannou going far in this division. And he was like, no, Blades is the guy who's going to go far. You know, I said, yeah, you're sure. Yeah, man, Blades is the guy. I said, okay. And now we are 1.5 years further. And I'm like, last time I told him, like, I think you're all right, man. I think you saw it very well. Blades got more ways to win against Ngannou. Ngannou only got the chance of knocking him out, I think, in the first round. But Blades' wrestling is very good. He has very strong ground and pound. His control is good. He can keep the distance if needs. And I see him getting this win. I see him evening this one. And yeah, what do you think?
I gotta agree with you on every facet. Blades got to take him down, and he's got to take him down often because no matter what we've seen out of Ngannou in his past 2 fights, we all know what he's capable of.
Definitely, yeah.
Ultimate Fighter 28. Go ahead.
I don't like the way Dana White is hating towards Ngannou. I mean, if you put someone, make him think he's the biggest next thing in the division, and he made him think that. They put everything on him. They did very little promotion for Stipe. Ngannou was the guy who's going to beat him. So Ngannou is thinking himself, like, I'm that guy, you know? And he loses to Miocic, and he's probably still on that thinking, like, this was just a slip-up, I'll be back. I don't like that, man. I mean, come on. If you are promoting someone and he loses, don't take your back on it, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, throwing him under the bus.
Yeah, exactly. That was the right word, sentence I want to say. I don't like that, even when it's probably true what Dana says. I'm not going to deny it, because Ngannou looked like that, how he fought. But come on, man. It's not need to put them in public shame for that kind of stuff. I don't like that. So that's what I wanted to say about it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that for sure. Ultimate Fighter 28 finale gets Pedro Munoz and Brian Caraway. I like Munoz all day in that one.
Yeah, we can be short about that one. Yes, me too.
See Fight Night 142, another one that I'll be kind of short on. Paul Craig, the master of the last second submission. I don't see him being as fortunate, though, against a guy like Jim Crute.
Me neither, man. Me neither. And yeah, that's probably that have to be comeback of the year if that's not for Sandhagen against Miraggio Alcantara. But
a comeback of the year that I'm kind of not seeing a whole lot of people talk about. What about Claudio Puelles and Felipe Silva in Chile?
Yeah, man, crazy. That was so unexpected.
Yeah, that was one that made me hop off my couch. I was going nuts about that one.
Yeah, I agree. That was crazy.
UFC 231 starting to take place. We got Chad Laprise and Diego Lima, Olivier Aubin-Mercier and Gilbert Burns, and obviously not official yet, but it looks like Max Holloway and Brian Ortega will be heading there to headline.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Why? Because I think Brian Ortega, he finds ways to win, man. He has many fights where he's 2-0 down going into the third, and he finds ways to win. It was against Moicano, it was against Brandao, it was against Tavares.
Guida too.
Yeah, it was. I saw the scorecards for Guida. I had a 2-0 for Guida, but some had a 1-1 going into the third. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, but that was also. He finds ways to win for some reason, and yeah, his guillotine is deadly, man. He showed that to everybody so far, and yeah, I have a tough. If you look clear to it, we have more ways to win. I would say Holloway, but Ortega is such a specialist, man. If it comes to grappling, submission, BJJ, it's really hard to pick that one. Who would you?
I'm leaning towards Ortega, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm in the minority, man. A lot of people think that Max Holloway, you know, there's a reason he beat Aldo twice, and I think that there's absolutely every bit of merit towards that. But we could be seeing these guys match up more than once.
Definitely, yeah, I see that as well.
UFC on Fox 31 in Milwaukee gets Joaquin Silva versus Jared Gordon and Eric Koch versus Dwight Grant.
Yes.
You got any thoughts on those?
Yeah, I'm pretty high on Jared Gordon, man. I like the guy. He has incredible pace. Carlos Diego Ferreira is a good guy, but I was surprised he got out so quick against him. But he had that encounter with some street talk right before that fight. So,
yeah.
I don't know if that was the case, that it didn't help him right there, because he could barely punch with his hand. He said, I saw also a picture that looked gross. How that looked. His hand. Did you saw that?
You talking about the fight that he got in the street?
Yeah, that picture what he showed from his hand.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. So that's a tough fight to call as well, because Joaquim Silva, he just lost one fight against Vince Pichel, and that was a close one, I think. I also could see that for Joaquim Silva, if I can remember. Well, it was Charlotte, I think. Tough fight, man. I'm not going to give my pick for that right now, because I have to look into it more. A pretty even fight for me. And the other one, Eric Koch. What can you say about him? He fought at featherweight, and now he's at welterweight. What are your thoughts about that, man?
He's tough. He's tough, but you know, I gotta like Dwight Grant in this matchup. I think Dwight Grant's, you know, getting into the UFC a little late in his career, but he's hungry, and I think Dwight Grant kind of looks a little similarly to Bobby Green, to be honest with you, who just bested Eric Koch, as far as stylistically. So
yeah.
UFC 232 is already starting to look like a banger. There are two fights that have been made public for that. Both of them matchups with top fighters in their respective weight classes. Ilir Latifi and Corey Anderson was announced today, and then obviously the big one earlier this week, Chris Cyborg and Amanda Nunes. However, interestingly enough, was said that it is not and will not be pegged as the event's main event just yet.
That can be a good thing, because we get maybe even bigger fight on the main event.
Man, what?
But the fight deserves to be main event.
I agree. How could there be a main event bigger than that? Because the only thing that I could see being bigger than that is potentially Connor fighting someone else if he beats Khabib.
DC versus Jones 3.
Maybe, maybe.
I'm just talking out loud. I don't know. I mean, I think main event worthy definitely Cyborg against Nunez. A very hard fight to pick because yeah. Well, what do you think about that? Because I'm torn. I don't know.
I'm torn too. I haven't really decided if I'm going to lean one way or the other. I see ways for Nunez to be able to win that fight, but obviously, you know, you don't even need to look past on what Cyborg needs to do. She's just going to be coming forward, constant pressure. But we've seen it, man, time and time again. When the double champ offering is there on a silver platter, it's usually the one that has the opportunity to take it that does.
True.
And
Yeah.
Connor and DC have been the ones to do it. Interestingly enough, January 18th next year on a Friday night, I know that you weren't so happy about that. We could see Wonderboy Thompson and Robbie Lawler headline the first ever event on ESPN.
Yeah, that's a good fight, and that's a fight they actually wanted to make back in the day for the title when Lawler was still champion. Fun fight. I mean, I think I'm leaning towards Thompson in that one. I think Lawler is getting a little bit more older. Still has a lot of potential, I think, but Thompson will take his distance and he tried to pick him apart. I think that's what's going to happen. What do you think?
I think that sounds about right. I would favor Wonder Boy in that matchup pretty much all day. I think Robbie Lawler would be playing a dangerous game, trying to play that game that he does every time he steps in there. Not a matchup I really would fancy Lawler in whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree.